Gabe, Eliana, it's so great to have you guys this year. I know last year we interviewed a family and we had a great conversation, and this year we are highlighting your story. And I know you two have an incredible story, which we can probably spend hours talking about and unpacking, but we don't have all of that time. But I know you guys are gonna share some incredible things. I know God's doing incredible things in both of your lives. And so I know, and we know that, just like myself, we came from out of a radical lifestyle of addiction and where we weren't making the best of decisions. But I have a question for you. As you guys look back at that and where God brought you from and what he's brought you into, my question is, where did you see the grace of God in your life? As you look at that today, where did you see his hand, like maybe you didn't see before?
God's grace in my life. For me, it was after, going through the program and being saved, him forgiving me of everything. He brought me back home. And that grace part was, for me, it's extended. Because I got to be around my family and friends and not be at a distance of being somebody on Facebook that they see, hey, he's doing great. But I got to rebuild things, and not even rebuild things, make them new. Like relationships with my family, my dad, mom. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And what about you?
For me, I feel like I saw the grace of God here in Teen Challenge. Not only did he bring me to a place of wholeness in the program as I went through as a student, but he saw me fit to become a staff member, and I see that grace over and over and over each and every single day as I step into work and as I get to go home and walk in answered prayer that I would have never, ever thought okay, this is what my life's going to look like as a student. So,
yeah, that's amazing. I think sometimes I'm like, I didn't think my life would be where it was at when I was a student. I never thought this would be possible. Yeah. And another side of God's grace is both of you are married and you are also parents. How did this love story come into play?
Well, it's like when you go through Teen Challenge, everybody knows everybody. Yeah. And so we were all knew each other. And then when she finished and she graduated the program and she came to Bakersfield, I had to ask her out.
And she said, I'm presuming she said yes.
She said yes. The first time.
Is that the way the story goes? There's always two sides to the story.
Yeah.
That was the same.
Yeah, exactly what he said happened.
So how would you say that your shared journey with God has strengthened your marriage? Because obviously you two didn't know each other before the program, but you had similar type of lifestyles. How has that shared journey of even seeing God's grace through that all helped shape your marriage today?
I think for me personally, we're fighting from a place of victory, so the fact that we share a common past helps us remember that we have a common future coming for us too, that we can share that God is the one that walks us through things and not just our own, and not just, okay, we're going through something and we're leaning on our own understanding and doing it in the flesh, but doing it in the way that we've learned through God.
Yeah, I was reading this morning in Deuteronomy 8. Actually, this is crazy. Where it says, so you can remember, God let you be hungry, so He can humble you and test you to know what's in your heart. And so for me, when He speaks these promises over me, it's like we have common ground. Yeah. If I bring that to my wife, if I bring the revelation to the table, she understands it. It's not like, God promised He's going to restore everything, and then she's never lived that lifestyle. So then she would be like, restore what? What are you talking about? Right. She actually understands what I'm going through and what the promises of God, why it's so strong.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And I know you two, we just kind of talked about that. You have this shared experience of having similar lifestyles before Christ, then going through Teen Challenge and seeing the grace of God in your lives through the program, bringing you to this place of wholeness, and now as not only as husband and wife, but as parents. How would you say that your journey going through Teen Challenge helped shape your leadership as a staff member at Teen Challenge? Because I know both of you work at Teen Challenge, you have two separate roles, but how has your story helped you become the staff members that you are today, to lead the students and do the ministry that you get to do today? Gabe, I'd like you to answer that first.
All right. So for me, it's like on the job training. there's never a time when somebody took my hand and said, this is how you advise somebody. This is what you tell them. This is what, how you treat people. It was never that. It was always like you're going through the fire, and there's people that you connect with, and they pour into you. And they know what to say. And there's people that you remember because they've treated you a certain way and loved on you a certain way. And so it's like on the job training. My whole journey throughout Teen Challenge, I remember what I liked and didn't like, but I also remember not liking the truth at times. And so that reminded me that, hey, I got to speak truth, even when it's unpopular. So my journey actually formed who I would become as a staff member.
I love that. Yeah, the truth. Sometimes we don't like the truth.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't. Even now, sometimes as a pastor, it's like, I don't know if that's the truth, but it kind of hurt.
The best leaders in my life have been the ones who said no. Yeah. Even when I thought it was good for me, it's great, it looks great, it's a great decision. Look at all these pros, and the best leaders in my life have said no.
It's good.
Wait.
That's really good. That's really good. And what about for you, Eliana?
I think for me is being able to be relatable. Going through the program, you're not pouring from a place of, this is what I learned from a book. This is what I learned from somebody teaching me. You're learning and you're pouring from a place of, this is what God walked me through. This is what God is walking me through. So I love the fact that I get to pour out of a place of, I'm still there with you. I'm still there. So not only did it shape me, but it's still shaping me. It's still a learning experience each and every single day.
See, I think that what you just said as well, I think that's what helps keeps us grounded. It's the fact that even though we might be more ahead in life than a student that comes in, we never lose sight of the fact that we were once still students, and we're still students of Christ ourselves. Yeah. So I think that I could see how that helps you be the staff members that you are today. Let me ask you guys a question, and Gabe, I'll start with you. What was that defining moment in your life that finally led you to say, I'm done running, and God, I'm turning to you, and whatever it's going to take, I'm going to do? I know you were court ordered to the program, but what got you? What was that point that you were just like, I'm done?
So I went through the program the first time, court ordered, finished the program, went home, fell flat on my face, and the addiction was worse than ever. Year and a half. After that, everything was ruined. There was nothing left, no hope left. And I walked out to the orchard in Shafter, and I was going to hang myself, sat on the floor, and just realized that I don't want to die. I just don't know how to live. And it was in that moment, I believed that that's the first time I really had a true prayer, where I had a real conversation with God and asked for help. And then, I got up off the floor, went to my mom and dad's, and my dad gave me the Bible and said, this is it. It's this or nothing. So when I went back to Teen Challenge, it was the fact of knowing that it's either God or it's nothing for me. And so if the men are coming into the program and they're going through the same thing that I'm going through, then they have to know that it's God. It's only God. It's Jesus and only Jesus.
That's good. Wow. That's incredible. And what about for you? What was that defining moment?
I had came through Teen Challenge, the first time court ordered as well. And I had gone back to my addiction, gone back to my Egypt willingly, and I was in a situation that how I made it out is God. How I was able to get out of that situation in the physical realm, like it was God. And I remember just feeling so desperate, just so empty, so alone, and just thinking like there has to be something to life other than this, like there has to be something other than this darkness and this emptiness, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel alone, and for me, I feel like that was a pivotal moment where I said like, God, you're real. Wow. Because for the first time, though I was alone in the physical, I did not feel alone.
Wow. That's awesome. I know that when I was in the program, there were certain staff members that I admired, that you see their lives, you see their marriages, and you look up to. I know when I was in the program, that gave me hope that one day I too could have what they have if, I continue to remain faithful. I know you work on the women's campus in Shafter, and I know you're over outreach and you're on different campuses, but students still get to see both of you, and they might see you together, they might see you separately. When students see the both of you, what is it that you want these students to take away from your life and your marriage, maybe even in your parenting?
It's possible. It doesn't matter where you came from or what you did. if you're made new, you're new. And it's possible. I never thought I was going to be a father. It took 39 years for me to have a son, for me to have a kid at all. And so I had accepted defeat in my life. I was in my early 30s and I said, well, I'm either going to die in prison or die from drugs. And that's not the case. It's possible. It's possible to be married. It's possible to be a father. It's possible to live a life that, even though it may not be successful by the world standards, it's successful in God's eyes because I'm serving him and I'm fighting every day.
That's awesome. That's great. What about for you?
For me, that it's possible for it to be healthy. I feel like when we come from the background that we come from, we look at relationships and we look at life, we look at parenting. And for a lot of us, we have this distorted view on what life is like growing up, right? So I want students and just people around us to look at us and for it to be, it's healthy. It's possible. Are we going to mess up? Yes. We're going to have things that come our way? Yes. But we can handle it in a healthy way through the love of Jesus.
Wow. And I love what both of you are saying, because I think it speaks to a side of vulnerability. And I think that one of the real things that speaks to students, and I would say as a pastor to those in the congregation, is when they see that their leaders are real humans, that we're vulnerable just as well. And I think sometimes our vulnerabilities speak louder to them than we think it does. And living in an authentic way and walking in your authentic faith and in your authentic selves, I think is absolutely huge. Now, did you guys ever see yourselves being Teen Challenge staff members? And what made you come on staff at Teen Challenge? We'll start with you, Eliana.
So I did not see myself becoming a staff member at first. When I came through the first time, I was actually court ordered. So I was trying to get out. I was coming in and it was a ticket out for me. So I programmed. I did time and I wasn't really here. So I was trying my hardest to go under the radar, just do what I have to do and get out. But God, he had other plans. Some things happened and I ended up coming back on my own a couple years later. And I knew when I came back, like, God, you didn't just bring me back to get me sober. You brought me back to give me a purpose. And, now that I'm standing on answered prayer, I see why the things that happened took place and I was brought back to where I was supposed to be at.
Wow. And what do you love the most about doing what you do at Teen Challenge?
I love that I get to see God's glory live in person, getting to see the girls' lights come on, getting to see them find their true identity in Christ. It's like me getting saved all over again and again and again and again. It's like the physical manifestation of God's love.
Do you ever see moments when girls come in that remind you of yourself when you came in the program?
Oh, yeah.
And if so, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I laugh. First of all, oh my God, you got jokes, And the way that I handle it, I feel like for me is having compassion and pouring from a place of not that I know the answer to give you, but I'm going to listen because I know the one that's going to give you the answer is God.
Yeah.
So listening.
That's
Sitting
awesome.
back and listening, yeah.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Gabe?
I didn't want to be a staff member. I'm not supposed to be a staff member. And, same story as her. I was court ordered. This is a way out of prison for me. Did the whole year and went home, fell flat on my face. And when I came back the second time to Restoration and Reedley, God spoke clearly to me, I was trying to bargain with God and said, I'll do anything if you change what I'm going through. And the whole thing was just be still. Be still and serve me. And what that looked like was just staying in Teen Challenge for me. That's all it was. I just said yes to the next thing and yes to the next thing. And it was TCMI, then it was becoming a staff member in chapter, and now this, and my wife and my son. And so for me, there was no way I was going to be a staff member. I had a job working with heavy duty equipment, selling to the oil industry, made a lot of money. And so for me, becoming a staff member Teen Challenge was out of the question,
But God,
here we are. Here we are.
Very, very rarely have I ever encountered someone who said, I really wanted to go into ministry. I wanted to do this. It's usually the other way. We ran from it, and then it's what God had for us. I said two things. I'll never work for Teen Challenge, and I'll never be a pastor. God's like, I got jokes.
Yeah.
And so the two things, just to see how God chooses us, the foolish things of the world, to confound the wise. And I love this idea too, that you guys are now parents. You guys have a child that you're going to be that you are raising, and you're going to raise in the ministry. How has parenting maybe changed the way you view God's faithfulness?
Purpose.
What do you mean by that?
I was searching for purpose my whole life. And then it was, my purpose is to serve God, okay? And then my purpose is to be a husband. When my son was born, it's like you're watching a miracle happen. Yeah. It's deep. It's super deep to be a dad. Yeah. It's purpose. It's the fullness of God, And him being born healed a lot of things between me and my father. Wow. It was just like becoming a parent changed the game. It's not about me and my lifetime here. It's not about that. It's zero about me. Yeah. It's about my family. It's about my son. It's about him carrying on the legacy that my dad started. My dad pastors. And so I've been away running for a long time, and now I'm in the church. Yeah. And my son, if I have my way, he's going to lead worship and he's going to pastor one day.
Haven't called me in 15 years.
Yeah,
we need
sure.
a worship leader. Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. What about for you?
I think for me, becoming a mom also healed a lot of things in my heart, and when I look back and I see what I've been through and what God has given me, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And raising Levi, it's God's love. It's God's love for me as his daughter, because he's trusting me with his son, So I feel like it's, purpose, not only purpose, but it's just the fullness, like how Gabe said, the fullness of God's love and trust to us, because he's giving us his son,
I love what you both are saying. And I think about this idea. I think the scriptures talk about there's not very many fathers amongst us. I'll say even mothers, and being spiritual parents. You two are parents now, and I'm sure that's opened your eyes in so many different ways. I think a lot of the students, like us, we come from broken homes. Some of us broken backgrounds, relationships, even if our parents were there for us. And a lot of the students, they need a love of a father and a love of a mother. Has having a child changed the way that you view your leadership here at Teen Challenge? Gabe?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how has that been?
I'll stop by the Shafter campus a lot, and I still have conversations with students all the time. For me, that's what it's really about. It's about relationships. It's never been about me being the great leader. It's always been about relationships. And I figured that out. And so when I see the younger guys or guys my age, they need love. Yeah. They need somebody to love on them. Yeah. And a father's love is different, right? God disciplines, those he loves the way a father disciplines his son. And I didn't understand it. That's what I'm saying. When my son was born, a lot of the things that happened between me and my dad made sense. It started to make sense. And so when I see the guys and I talk to the guys, now I know that it's love. It's not because somebody doesn't like you or they don't like the way you're talking, you're acting. It's because, being a man is hard work. You have to go through some things to understand life. And so these guys need love. And sometimes they just need you to stand up for them.
Wow, that's so good. That's really good. That's true. That's true. What about for you?
That's good. Love, definitely what it's done for me is helped me love not only myself a little more, but it's helped me extend that love out to others too. And a mother's a nurturer, and not only do you get to nurture from a physical place, but from a spiritual place too. And coming on campus and just seeing all these women that are moms, it breaks your heart a little more for what breaks God's, So it helps you pour from a place of, I understand, and when you can't fight, I'll fight for you.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. That's so good. I feel like the future is so bright in Teen Challenge with staff members like yourselves. And I know you two do great things at Teen Challenge. And so I would just love to know, what is God doing in you and through you in your current role in ministry at Teen Challenge? I'll start with you, Gabe.
So I do a lot of prevention and outreach. And for me, it's all my junk in my life started as a teenager when I was around, probably not the greatest influences. And I began to what I thought was understand the world and to look out, outside of the house and to look in the world. And it's really bright, a lot of bright lights, a lot of things, money and cars and all that. And so that's when I started to form my ideas of what a man was, and I was rebellious and all those things. And so I get to go into the schools and speak to these freshmen and sophomores and juniors that are the same age that I was when I started making these mistakes. And I get to sit down with them and have real conversation.
Wait, so you mean Teen Challenge isn't just doing a men's and a women's home? We're hitting the neighborhoods and the streets and the schools?
We're in the high schools, we're in the streets. We're talking to youth, we're having real conversations, and not the you better act right or you're gonna get in trouble. We talk about like me, I have a conversation of why I chose what I chose, what my daily decisions look like. And they came from fear and anxiety and how I felt maybe slighted in life. And I didn't want to be known as the pastor's son, or I thought I was uncool, or maybe I'm ugly, and would never share those things out loud because I was embarrassed. So we get to talk about those things in the high school and how they shape our decisions every day and what that can lead to.
What would you say in your lane? What excites you the most? What fires you up to continue to do what you do at Teen Challenge?
It's that very thing. It's the youth. They are our future. No matter how you look at it, they will lead this world one day, and the youth are going to lead my son.
Yeah, I love that. I look at it as that's the preventative maintenance, and Teen Challenge often is damage control, and so we're trying to help teenagers before they make the decisions that would land them in Teen Challenge. I love that. That's amazing. And what about you? In your lane, in your role, what are you doing and what is God doing through you?
So I get the privilege to be a staff member here on the induction side. So induction side is when the ladies first come in, fresh off. We get them right as soon as they come in from the streets, from toxic relationships, you name it. And I get to not only come alongside them and watch them get sober, but watch them come to themselves. I get not only to just be a staff member, but to be a mentor, to be an example of what God's love is for you. Because in reality, when you first come in, the thoughts and everything that just comes to your head is, I don't want to have a relationship with nobody. The last thing I want to do is talk about this stuff I went through. The last thing that I want to do is deal with the stuff that I went through. And as we are here being advisors, we get to be intentional with the time that we spend with our ladies. I am really passionate about just counseling, counseling these women through their trauma and just walking them through the hurts that they've been through, and not just, oh, you're here to get sober and that's it. Good job. Here you go. Here you go to the next phase.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what would you say excites you the most about your role?
Ooh. The fact that I get to speak the word of God over these girls, that I don't just have my knowledge or my past experience or here, this is what this says here to help you fix A, B, C, and D, that I get to put out the word of God, that I get to speak his word and his truth in his life. And he does the work. He just needs us to be the vessels, so that's like what excites me the most, that I can freely talk about the power of Jesus.
So good. That's so good. And I think lastly, I'd love to hear from both of you. What does the future look like for you guys in your role here at TC? What do you see God doing through you in the next year, 2, 3 years as you lead in your role?
For me, he's going to open the doors. I know he's going to open the doors for us to have an outreach team in every city, every major city here in Southern California. And we're going to be in all the high schools. We're going to be talking to every young person and letting them know that there's hope.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And what about you?
That's good. I feel like he's expanding territory. That as you become a leader, your job as a leader is to pour into the new leaders that are coming in, and get to disciple them so that they can be better leaders than you.
Wow, your guys' story is powerful, from before Teen Challenge, before Christ, to coming to know Christ, seeing what he's done in your lives, bringing you two together in marriage, having a beautiful baby boy, and walking in the call that God has for your life. The hand of God has definitely been on both of your lives. The miraculous working power of God has definitely been in the midst of this. And it's been great to see what he's doing, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. So I thank you guys so much for sharing your story and for giving of your time and for your ministry as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.